Welcome to the Spice of Life podcast, where we take bold risks, build real wealth, and use money as a tool for freedom and legacy. I'm Luke Spicer, and each week we uncover the principles of ownership, independence, to business and life. Whether you're an investor, entrepreneur, or tradesperson, this show is about creating freedom today and legacy for tomorrow. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spicer Life podcast. I'm your host, Luke Spicer. Today on the show, we've got Jay, the sales ninja Lee. And Jay, welcome to the show. How are you, my man?
Hey, thanks for having me, Luke. I'm doing very well.
Of course. So, Jay, you and I met this summer. You were doing some training for Ty Lopez, and you were talking to groups of students and staff there, giving a sales take. That's kind of where we connected, and I just thought, man, I loved your take on selling and how you approach people, and we've just become better and better friends. And I just really wanted to bring you on and kind of talk to you about your life in sales and how you got started and what you're doing now to help other people, you know, learn to become ninjas too. I love the sales ninja thing.
Yeah.
It's always been my part, or always been a thing that I really liked about it. So back up. What did you do, out of high school, say? What was one of your first jobs that you had?
So high school, for many who do not know my story and know me, is I was an extreme introvert, extremely shy. And what in terms of work, my dad kind of had the equivalent of what you would call Costco today,
Okay.
but it was kind of like a confectionery, like light bulbs, cigarettes, basically things that people could buy for their variety stores. He had a cash and carry wholesaler, and,
Okay.
and I would work there pretty much every summer, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, and just doing my own
Okay.
thing, very quiet, not customer facing, doing my own thing, stocking the shelves and getting minimum wage back then. And I'm going to date myself, was like $7 here in Toronto, Canada.
I was like, was that in Toronto?
It was in Toronto. Yeah.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
was near
Okay.
Yorkdale Mall.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I did. That was my first kind of job where I just followed my dad. I think at 5 in the morning, and we would be finished at around 5 or 6. So we do like 12-hour days, 6 days a week.
Dang. And then so you did that while you were in high school and
I did
and
that
out of
while I
high
was high
school?
school. I did that while I was in university and college and
Yeah.
seminary.
Okay. What'd you go to university for?
University of Waterloo for science and business.
Okay. Yeah. And what was your dream? Did you think you'd be doing what you're doing now?
100% no. My dream, at least at that time, was to please my parents, being a good Korean, Canadian, Asian kid, performance, performance driven, because, my parents are immigrants. They worked several jobs and didn't know the language, had to get re-educated. So there was never a handout, and we lived a pretty tough life. So my dream was their dream, which was you become dentist, doctor, lawyer, right? you know, basically, if you can become a doctor, that would be the greatest thing. So I studied science with a double major in business because I thought if science doesn't work out for me, then I have a backup plan. And so kind of like a pre-med thing. But when I was in university, I did not like sciences. I only did it because my parents wanted me to do that and become a doctor. But it was a tall order because, go into medical school to become a doctor, not only is it a 10-year track, it's extremely difficult to get into. And I didn't enjoy it one bit.
Right. And so at what point did you stop dental or like medical school?
Well, it was pre-med, or not pre-med. It was science based, but as soon as I got in, because basically I was one of three children. I was the youngest of three boys, and I was pretty sheltered. And once I got to university, which was, away from home, I was like, yay, I'm free, right? I'm not confined in my parents' space, and I love them, and they're amazing, and they're, people of faith, and they've done very, very well because they worked really hard. Um, However, when I got to university, I thought this is the time that my parents are not watching over me. I'm not, hiding under my brother's shadows, which happened quite a bit too. So as soon as I went to university, I goofed off.
Mhm.
I, you know, partied, played a lot of sports. I ended up flunking after my
Oh.
first year or first or second year of university because I was playing too much volleyball and playing too many sports.
So did your parents get upset or did they know?
Oh man, I my when I actually told my parents, my dad was speechless and my mom cried, and I think they wanted to either kill me or disown me. It was not a good place, and there was just in Asian culture, there's something called shame and honor theology, and the one of the worst things you can do is bring shame upon your parents because there's so much pride and ego because they work so hard, and when they go to church, you know their thing is like many of their friends children are either in dental school, medical school, or they're lawyers, dentist, doctor, lawyer, right? And
Yeah.
so when can you imagine them going for coffee or tea and they say, so my son's in medical school or my daughter's finishing her MBA or whatever, right? And they have no ability to say, oh, my son's flunked out of university, right? It's not a good story.
No, no, that's fair. And so you flunked out of university and then what came next? Did you try to stay in university or what did you do?
Yeah, so the associate dean of science basically, and this is like a really, really hard moment, a rock bottom moment, and this is where faith comes into play. So I have all these cue cards to this very day with Bible verses, right? And here's one that says, "And my God will meet all your needs according to His glorious riches in Christ Jesus," in Philippians 4:19. So my dad made one of these for me in Proverbs 3:5, which says, "Trust in the Lord your God with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight." So I flunked out, and the associate dean of science, and there was no one in the dean of science office at the time, and he basically looked at my GPA and he says, "You don't belong at this school." And basically said, on my watch, if you try to reapply or appease or petition, you won't get in on my watch. And I thought to myself, this is a harsh thing to say to someone who is like already not feeling good. And are you even allowed to say that the way you said it? And it didn't really matter because there's no one there to witness what I heard. And so I had nothing to say because he was right. I did flunk out and maybe I don't belong here. And then I turned around, and I walked in shame, in humiliation, and just started sobbing, just started crying, and thinking to myself, not only am I a failure in school, when my parents find out, they're going to either disown me and kill me. And then I'm a futurist in Strengths Finders, in Tom Rath Strengths Finders. And basically, that's the ability to see the future in the present. And my future was fast forwarding really, really quick to say, not only am I not going to be able to get back to school on his watch, and I'm not going to be able to live up to tell my parents, either they're going to kill me or disown me. And if I get past that, I'm never going to get a job, and no one's going to ever want to marry me. I'm going to be a loser for the rest of my life. I'm going to be homeless. Boom. All in that one 30-second or 3-minute conversation with my associate dean of science.
Wow. But but now God had other plans for you because that did not happen, I assume. Or did part of it happen and then you
Yeah.
worked out of that? Did it get worse?
Yes. Yeah. So I applied myself to, bettering myself and growing in my faith. And, after telling my parents, I said, how do I grow that growth mindset? So I studied, I read, I, spent time, you know, really digging deep in my relationship with God, building my faith based on Proverbs 3:5 and trusting Him. And then I reapplied with this, amazing, petition letter, the one that the associate dean of science says, if you reapply on my watch, you'll never get in. And I, beyond all logic, with faith in God, I said, I'm going to still apply.
Right.
And if he gets it, God moved the heart of stone. And I reapplied, and then I got a mail in a letter in the mail, and I was so nervous to open it because I was expecting it. You have been declined back into the University of Waterloo, but to my surprise, I got reaccepted and readmitted.
Oh,
Um, he had the associate dean of science, the one that was on guard, had passed away that summer,
dang.
so not on his watch. but on someone else's watch, they let
Not on
me.
his watch. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he went back to medical school
Oh, it was
or
I went
to
to back to
to
University of Waterloo to study, finish my science degree. And then it was at that time I said, my life is on the line, so I better study my butt off just to, how do you take a failing grade to even pass? Because I think you needed like a B, which is like a 70 to stay in the program and to pass. It wasn't even like a 50. So that means I needed to get 80s or 90s to be able to even that out. So
yeah.
I had like my study notes, I had my, sticky notes, I had my highlighter, and we had study groups in the InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, and that's when Vivian, um, you know, noticed me. She was at University of Laurier, saying, "I've never seen someone study so diligently, be so persistent in their faith with God." And had she had met me a year or even 6 months ago, she'd be like, "This guy is like an absolute clown and goofball and unfocused and distractor of all people, and takes people out of their study to go play." And if she had met me earlier, she'd be like, "I'm not interested." But she ended up being interested in someone who was really passionate about God, faith, and work, and that ended up being my wife.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, wow, that's actually kind of neat. Hey, like when you think back over time and like, wow, if we would have met earlier, we wouldn't have been together. And and then she might not even have seen the change in the man that you were then, like, oh yeah, but that guy, that's not him. And society does that a lot to us, doesn't it? Where it like, especially in our own circles, where it just like they want to keep us there. Like, oh no, I remember you when you were this person. And it's like, but I'm not that person anymore. Yeah, 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 you are. It's like, no, no, I'm not. I'm growing. And um, it's been one of the neatest things with getting into different groups and different circles, right? And being in totally different businesses now. I personally love it. So you went to university again. You started going. You met your now wife, and then you guys started dating from that moment when she met you. You kind of started pursuing her.
I actually, she was first year university, and I was in my last year university, and I thought she was too young, so I thought I was robbing the cradle. So I
Okay.
tried to set her up with my other younger friend, one of my best men in my wedding, which is crazy, right? Because I tried to set her up with my friend, and she said, no, no, no. He said, no, she's not my type. And then after university, I called her up and basically said, "I'd love to hang out with you, but I'm not dating you, and I'm not your boyfriend, and I don't have money. I don't have a car." Like, I'm so like weird that way, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
because I'm a futurist. I'm like, don't jump to any conclusions. Don't make any assumptions. I'm not gonna wine and dine you. I don't have a lot of money, but if you want to hang out, cool. And she's like, yeah, let's hang out. And
Okay.
so we ended up dating for 4.5 years. We got married. Now we've been married for 23 years, and we have three
Nice.
children.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, those are cool stories, man, when people have been married that long. I always thought I'd be married a super long time. But we're my wife and I, this is my second marriage, right? And so we're coming up on what are we this summer? 4 years now? Wow, I can't. It's weird, and I say this because people think, oh, like shouldn't say like that. I'm like, I feel like we've been together forever, but
Yeah,
like,
that's
as
amazing.
I just know her so well, in a totally different light. We're just so close and connected, and when we're off, we want to work hard to get back, to be in synchronicity, because we both want the same things for our girls and move through life. Um, so after university, what did you do then?
So after university, I was looking for a job like everyone else, and the one place I did not want to work for was the bank. And then with a science degree, I mean, if you're not doing anything, well, it's you know, even in this time, it's like what kind of job can you get, right? Research. I didn't go to medical school, clearly, and then so I just started going to job fairs and handing out as many resumes as I could. And then one of my friends went to another university where he was at, and he was just like tossing my resume everywhere. And I tried to tell him, like, say, can you just apply everywhere, anywhere except the bank? Because I thought the bank was like, the pinstripe suit people were like, very formal, very
Mhm.
rigid, and that's the one place I did not want to work. And out of all the places, I didn't get any interviews, callbacks, or anything except for the Royal Bank of Canada, RBC. As you know, you're in Canada. That's the largest bank in Canada. Or so I think I had 5 interviews with them, which is wow, talk about going through hoops. And the
Yeah.
last panel was like 3 people that were interviewing me, like a firing squad. And then they said, "Don't call us, we'll call you." And then they basically said, "We'll let you know by Monday latest." Monday rolls around, and I'm sitting and lying down on the couch. It's a summer day, and waiting for this call. And my mom is like, "Would you like get up and out of the house? Like, stop waiting." I mean, we had the landlines back then. "Stop
Yeah.
waiting around for the call." I'm like, "Well, what if I miss it?" They said, and she said, "If you miss it, then they'll call you back, right? If they really want you, they'll call you back." But because I wanted that job so bad, even though I didn't want the job at the bank, because it was the only job that was being offered,
Yeah.
or at least I was applying for, I really wanted it so bad. So I ended up not hearing back from them on Monday. And then I said to God, "Okay, I'm raising the white flag, right?" And here we go. Here's my white checkered flag. And I give up. I give up. I totally want to trust in the Lord, my God, with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength, and lean not on my own understanding. In all my ways, acknowledge Him, and He will make my path straight. So I gave up almost because I had no choice to, because the end of the day had happened and nobody called me. So I only gave up after there was no chance. And then on a Wednesday, 2 days later, I was with my best man, Ian. We are having dim sum in Richmond Hill. And I just said to him, all out as friend to friend, brother to brother, I said, I just want to leave my um, leave my life into God's hands. And we were having dim sum, and I just said, that's the position and the posture I want to take before God. And then at that very moment, I got a phone call, and it was the HR recruiter from RBC saying, "Is this Jay Lee?" I'm like, "Yes." And he said, "Welcome to the Royal Bank."
Nice. So after, so they were going through other things probably, and then so then when did you then you started there like fairly soon, I
Yeah, I
assume?
started there fairly soon, and then I worked there for 5 years, helped launch the Avion Platinum card with a project called Project Ripley, with a conversions team. We went from a legacy system to a new system, and my role was to help process map 2,500 flows of like accounts receivable, fraud, collections, card center, and then basically build a training manual, and then become the SME, the subject matter expert, and then be what we call the Royal Advisor, which is the internal magazine for the Royal Bank, and be the contributor for Royal Bank card services. So I did that for 5 years and learned marketing and sales. Kind of cut my teeth there.
Right. And then you left RBC for what gig? What took you away from RBC?
Ministry.
Okay.
So I had this cartoon caption. We were on the 23rd floor of 200 Bay Street, which is the Royal Bank Plaza, the Gold Tower. It's literally a gold
Yeah.
tower at Front and Bay. And on the cubicle, there is 2 captions. I love cartoons, by the way. I'm not really fond of these 500-page books. Where the first, caption was like 2350 AD, right? For the future. And it was basically archaeologists mining ruins. And then the second caption was under the rubble, they found a cubicle. And that's exactly where the cartoon caption was posted on a cubicle, kind of like on that board. And my heart just sank because, here I am in a company with 70,000 employees, and everyone is running the race, but we're all rats in the rat race, and we're
Hmm.
all trying to help the bottom line for the profitability of this massive bank. Don't get me wrong, I love the bank. You could stay there your whole life and career. So anyone who's in the banking career, this is not a knockoff. It's just for me, I felt like there was something, a different assignment for me, and so God was really clearly getting my attention. And I started to pray, I started to fast. And the more I started to do that, the more I realized that God was calling me to full time pastoral ministry, which took me to Tyndale Seminary and becoming a pastor, church planner, reluctant evangelist, and many other things.
Man, that's quite the journey. And then so you were a pastor for how many years?
10 years.
You were in ministry for 10 years. Dude, how old are you?
I am, gosh, 52.
Shut up, really?
Yeah.
Dang. I
I'm
think
old.
Asians age well, always have, I was like, I don't know. I mean, I knew you were older than me, but I don't know, I guess I didn't
What's
really
the
think.
age difference? How old are you?
I'm 44.
Oh, you're a baby.
I'm just a pup. Yeah. But it's neat when you start thinking about like, oh man, like I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah. How does it all add
starts
up?
that up.
Yeah.
Well, even it's funny, my old martial arts, my original kickboxing instructor, the gym just celebrated its 50th anniversary, right? And I'm like, no, I went on there to like argue. I'm like, man, it hadn't been 50 years. And then I was like, oh shit, I started there like 28 years ago, right? So
Wow.
I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess yeah, it's like, he'd been running the business for so many years already. I was like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense then, right? So just how fast life can go by. So after ministry then, um like what brought you to sales? How'd you get started in a sales gig?
Yeah. So, in ministry, at least the structure that I was in, I guess you would consider me like a missionary. And we
Okay.
had something called MPD, which is Ministry Partnership Development. MPD is basically another way for saying fundraising, right?
Okay.
And so most of my ministry life in the 10 years, except for when I was salaried for a very few years, I had to raise my own support, and that's really hard, right? Like, as an evangelist, so my last post was a regional evangelist for all of Canada, and so I was traveling from Vancouver, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary, Montreal, Toronto, and then throughout the states to equip the saints for works of service. So like church planters, existing church pastors, campus missionaries, leaders, etc., on evangelism. And so as I was doing that, and we would do what we call OJT, on the job training, we would go out into
Okay.
campuses, Starbucks, Tim Hortons, laundromats, food courts, shopping malls, and I would train them in the classroom and take them out for hours on end, multiple times a week. And through that, we saw 40,000 conversations later. We saw 10,000 professions of faith, over 10 churches planted from the 10 years, and a lot of growth, a lot of people coming to Christ, getting baptized, etc. So it was an amazing time. So my supervisor was saying, like, you're doing such a great job, and everything's growing, and you've kind of put the SOPs, the standard operating procedures, in place so that we can train and sustain and thrive. So unless you move to like, I think they were asking me to move to um, Edmonton, Winnipeg, like those kind of areas. Where are you again?
I'm in Alberta in Red Deer.
Okay. So, some of the colder places of Canada, they were asking me to move and be a residential evangelist. And I'm rooted and based and born in Toronto, all my family, all my friends, my church. And I'm like, I don't feel called there unless, you're calling me to Hawaii or like, Bora Bora or Costa Rica. I'm just joking. Anywhere where it's warmer, where I can golf. But I didn't feel a call to those places that they were calling me to. So my missionary support was starting to dwindle to where I got down to like $1,000 a month in
Dang.
basically what I was living off of, with a wife, three kids, trying to live in Toronto. As you know, that's impossible. So I took a
Hmm.
newspaper route where I would deliver newspapers every single week with my three children's in tow in a wagon, and I would make a whopping $100 a month. And so
Wow.
I was like, this is not going to do it. So I ended up meeting with three different mentors, from one from Calgary, one from Singapore, and one from Nashville. And they spoke into my life saying, we feel like God's calling you to marketplace ministry, which is like, go back into the marketplace. But part of me felt like, hey, isn't that like flipping and flopping? And I just came out of the marketplace into ministry, and you want me to go to back into the marketplace? And they basically said, and these are three different people that don't even know each other. And I felt like God was prophetically speaking to me. And I fasted and prayed with my wife, and we got a clear yes. And so that's what pivoted me to high ticket sales. So I just basically saw an ad, I think, on Facebook, or LinkedIn, and I just video messaged the founder. I think he had a green Lamborghini, so I clearly thought he was rich and successful, from those ads. And I video messaged him, and if it was you with the Lamborghini ad, I say, "Hey, Luke Spicer, nice to meet you. You don't know me, and there's probably no reason for you to listen to me, but give me 46 seconds, and I'm going to share with you why you might want to consider having me on your team to be your right hand man to do anything that you hate doing, and you don't even need to pay me. I'll do that for 90 days."
Right.
So he messaged me back within 45 minutes, got in a video Zoom call, and said, "I don't know who you are. I don't know what you think you're trying to do. I'm not even
Yeah,
looking for
what
people."
game are you playing?
Yeah, because he's like, "I'm not." It was not even a job post on the ad. I said, "I know, but I'm desperate. I'm hungry, and I want to learn everything that you are teaching people, and I want to do everything that you hate doing, and I'm willing to do that for free for 90 days." And so he says, "Okay, game on." So he goes, "Come to my place." He gave me the address. I didn't realize he was in Toronto because I guess the ad was targeted. And he was in a penthouse suite at Yonge and Bloor, which was downtown, at the epicenter
Okay.
of Toronto. And he was a very, very successful entrepreneur. And I worked for him for 90 days. I went to his place, penthouse, every single day for 90 days, and just took hundreds of pages of notes. And that's where I learned true marketing and sales, from outbound to cold calling to scripting to social proof to collecting your assets to VSL, video sales letters, funnels, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow. And then you didn't stay with them.
Yeah, so I was closing for him because after like I think 60 days, I was like, "Hey man, I'm doing all this stuff for you, and you can't even handle the call volume. Get me on the phone, get me on the calls." And then I was getting on the calls, closing. I started to close $50,000 right away, and then 100 to $150,000 a month for him.
And
And
then
then, long story shorter,
at that point, did you start getting commissions? Were you
yes,
making
yes,
money now that you were closing?
yes,
Okay.
I was finally getting commissions because I'm like, I think I've earned my keep here. So I was seeing money after making zero, from
Yeah.
going from $1,000 a month to an additional $100 a month for paper route, and then getting nothing for 3 months, and then closing and getting commissions, 10% of cash collected. So I was making, from 1,000, I was making 10 times that in a
Yeah.
month. And this is US dollars, so times
I mean,
1.4
even
conversion rate.
better.
So a lot
Yeah.
more. And I was like, this is unbelievable. But long story short, the way that, the training for the sales was, we need to really be aggressive. We need to be, very um, we need to get the sale at all costs. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That kind of
Go ahead.
culture. And I wasn't that way because my approach is not pushy, not salesy, not aggressive. And anyways, I got put in the doghouse, and he took me off the calendar, which is the inbound paid leads. So
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
were guys in my team that were getting 8 to 12 calls per day, and he says, "You're going to be stuck in outbound, doing scraping leads from LinkedIn, getting their email addresses, uploading them to close in the CRM, and then doing personalized video emails." And I did 580 a month, which is about 29 a day.
Hmm.
Okay. And then booking only, 1 to 3 calls per day, which is like nothing compared to the 8 to 12. But I still closed more than the closers that were getting 8 to 12 and collecting more cash than them in the month. And that's all because of God.
Yeah. Well, and it's neat that you have that approach because I think that's probably why I resonated with you so much because like, we met in I would say like a traditional high ticket sales funnel, like business model. And I still struggle, I guess. Like that's probably is the right thing because my approach in my silver and gold business is very similar to yours. I'm not pushy. I'm like I want to make sure that people understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, educating them, bringing them along. And it's not a script, it's the truth. It's like, I check in with people, I'm like, "Hey, how are you? What's going on? Like, how's the kids? Merry Christmas." All these things where and sometimes, I actually had some sales guys that they're like in our business, and on Christmas last year, I texted every single contact on my phone, right, that I had talked to that year. I just scrolled down to the bottom. I texted every person, and I did it. It took me about 2 weeks. And I did it
Wow.
about 15 minutes a day. I did it from the sauna in the gym. So every
What?
day after the gym, I would just like program and set an automated message for Christmas Day. Hey Jay, it's Luke. Merry Christmas, man. Have a great day with your family. Hey Bill, it's Luke. Merry Christmas. Have a great day. And I just scheduled them all. And then on Christmas Day, it was like all these messages were going out, and they were personalized. They came from my number. They weren't it wasn't a CRM. It was from me. And if we talked in that year, and I had your number, you got a message. And I also, while I was doing that, I also programmed in Happy New Year as well, like for like, 7 days later, right? So bing, bing. And a bunch of I actually took me, I went scrolling on the phone. I hit screen record and I scrolled like this to see how many messages it was. Hitting it fast to move it down, it took 45 seconds to go through
Whoa,
the
that's a
thing,
lot.
right? Like that's how many messages went out. And other guys were like, why would, oh, I got better things to do on Christmas. And I was like, well, for starters, I didn't do it at Christmas. I did
You
it leading
scheduled it.
into
Yeah,
Christmas,
you're
right?
smart.
But it went out on Christmas. And we didn't have our kids that year because, shared custody, right? It was our year. We didn't have them. And and I said to my wife, it was like probably about 11. I was like, I'm just going to reply to some of these messages because some people texted me back. Not
Hmm.
everybody. Some people
Yeah,
never even texted me back,
yeah.
which is, whatever. And hey, yeah, great, awesome. We'd have like some mini conversations. And I didn't do it to get a sale. I just did it because it's who I am. I'm authentic. I want to connect with people. I still made sales. Hey, I hate to bug you. I've been thinking about you a lot, and this message just made me go, oh, like I know it's the holidays, but can we place another order? Do you got time between, in a couple days, Yeah, sure, man, no problem. Yeah, no problem, Jay. How's the day after Boxing Day or whatever, right? Let's jump on Zoom. Okay, yeah, yeah, that'd be great, no problem, right? And so I'm always been about just trying to like I said, connect. And so then to be in another atmosphere where it's like you've got calls booking on your calendar, which I have now, right? And you got to close them. And I'm like, I'm not judging people, but I'm like, I don't want to rush this lady to jump into this, you know, sales program or to this system because she's not ready,
Hmm.
and then people say, well, who are you to judge if they're not ready? I'm like, well, she literally told me she wasn't ready right now. Like I'm not a pushy guy, and so sometimes it kind of gets to me. Um, and I do struggle with that because the model that I'd be in at this other business is like I gotta produce, I gotta call, I gotta do this stuff. And so it's been interesting, right? Because I do really appreciate, our conversations that we've had and kind of your approach to selling. It's very similar to mine. And it's very different than a lot of people in the high ticket space, right? All flash and, here's my fancy car and this is what I'm doing. And I'm like, okay, well, good for you, man. Like so um now after working with this guy and you learn tons of stuff on the back end, which is what I'm really loving where I'm at. I'm learning tons of stuff from the marketing standpoint, which is why I'm there.
Yeah.
Uh what happened after that? Because now you're still closing, but you're there, but they're not giving you the good leads. You're working for them, but you're closing more because you're actually showing the people that you're calling that you care about them.
Yeah, so that became the course module for outbound prospecting. So
Right.
he's a smart guy. Like, I mean, everything that he did, he created assets, and tons of it, and it worked. So that was the proof that outbound prospecting works, and scraping leads, and doing personalized video messaging. So I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, Luke, I see that you're on Instagram and you're on Facebook, and you're the silver gold guy, and I heard that from your last podcast and your last video that you said silver has increased year over year, month over month by 37% or whatever that number was. And in episode 37, when you interviewed JM, and he had his RSPs locked away, and he knew that he wasn't going to get that when he retired, and you transfer that over without getting a tax, penalty, and that increased from 150 to $300,000 in the next 24 months. That got my attention. right? If I'm that kind of a personalized message, then I'd be like, I'd love to get on a call with you to learn more about what you do and see how we might be able to collaborate.
Right.
And through
Yeah.
that message, it got many calls booked.
Right, because then people are like, "Oh, hey," and you want to, yeah, because that call could go both ways. Like, "Oh, this guy wants what I'm doing for service," or and maybe he does, but then also like, "Well, this is what we're doing. How are you? Now you're interviewing me. How are you finding leads? What are you doing? Have you ever contacted your old leads? We can help you do that." Oh, shoot, yeah, okay, great. Like, and then away you go. And so you help develop that system for this other guy.
Yeah. And I'll give you one more example, just kind of for case use case is a cold email expert, I guess on LinkedIn reached out to me to, pitch slap me as they usually do. And, he said, why don't we get in a call? And I agreed to get in the call. And he says, do you know that, cold outbound, if you get 17%, 17 to 20% open rate on ice cold email. So out of 100 emails you send, if you get 17 to 20 to open, then you're like hitting it out of the park. And if you're getting a 1 to 2% reply rate on that 100, then you're actually doing better than the rest. And I
Hmm.
said, I have screenshots that show that I have a 73% open rate versus 17, and I have a 30% reply rate versus 1 to 2. And so that, pitch lap call became, and these are cold email experts that do that for a living full time. They the table got flipped, and they're like, how do we learn from you?
Yeah.
Because you are getting like way higher numbers than us. So that's, and I think for me with the calls, like if I got on a call with you with silver, I'm silver and gold. I'm like, I'm genuinely interested, and if there is, if it makes sense and if it's a good fit, then I'm genuinely interested, and that's why people get on the calls. And then how can we best collaborate, share best practices, or bring
Hmm.
referrals to each other? Because I probably know 20 people that would want
Right.
to do your work
Yeah.
with you, right? And vice
Yeah, and
versa.
that's I mean, in my business, that's what ends up happening. But I think what I like about people that want to collaborate and truly want to collaborate, it's not just lip service, right? It's like then you can actually see, how authentic they are, and then you can actually go like, this is a guy that I want to invest some time with because we're actually going to do something.
Mhm.
How how come your emails got opened so much better as a cold email than other people? Because like obviously you have a different title in the subject line, but nobody knows that you've sent a video versus just I guess there'd be an attachment on there probably, but
Yeah, I guess similar to what I think Bomb or some programs, you can actually see the video kind of animate like a GIF, right? And so
oh,
they could see, like, let's say Luke Spicer, and I'm scrolling through your LinkedIn, and you see your name, and you see your picture. You're like, and then you'll have like a subject header that says, I mean, this is a bit much, but like, hey, you're invited, or click here to click here to enter to win a prize or whatever, right? Like, it wouldn't be that extreme, but I'm just trying to give you an example of like how do you get a hook in the subject header,
yeah,
and how do you do a pattern interrupt? So I think, and Sean Malone, shout out to FlowChat co-founder, he said that out of $200 million in sales, in the body, in the subject, in the body header, in the first 5 words, he tries not to use their name at the beginning and saves it until the fifth word. That's another hack just for the tips, because it's usually say, "Hey Luke, we have something that we think that you might be interested in." That's usually the pitch, right? Or "Hey Luke," or "Hi Luke," or "What's up Luke," right? So
yeah,
I'd be
yeah,
like, in episode 37 of Spicer podcast, I learned an amazing thing from you, Luke, right?
right,
And then the
yeah, yeah,
subject matter could be like, um, episode 37 of the Spicer podcast changed my life, Luke, right? So
yeah, yeah,
things that
yeah,
were different and personalized. um, not all cold emails are equal, because a lot of people do a cookie cutter template, and then they just um, mass email people with the exact same, and you see even in DMs, you say you hear like even these very very successful entrepreneurs that are giving this framework, and you see it now more and more, and they say something like, "Are you just following me to learn, or are you actually here to grow your business?" Type of thing, right? That someone's created this and everyone's using it, right?
right. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And that's like I like that pattern disruptor. And even as you say that, I'm like, it feels better. I'm like, as you were describing that, I'm like scrolling through my secondary folder of email, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
hey Luke, and then it's like the
Yes,
odd one. It's like, why do I click on it? And it's like, yeah, because it's like, why is my name over here on that thing right there? There. Hey Luke, hey Luke, and then it's like this longer
exactly.
email chain. Oh
and
man,
and and I would say something like, "Hey, I made a personalized video to help you find your next 3 to 5 clients in the next 10 days." And it's a real true video that's value based, and I'll basically walk them through like a maybe a 60 to 90-second video showing, hey, on LinkedIn, did you know that you have free email credits when you do this? Did you know that when you are looking for people, there are people who have an open to work that you can actually in-mail? Or did you know that when you use a Boolean search and do XYZ steps, you can actually find people of interest with buyer intent and buyer signals? And people who actually have a certain level of success, like C-suite, they usually have more money, and that
yeah,
means they usually have more RSPs, which means they have uh, either the education and knowledge that was supposed to be the solution to the retirement, but don't have the real education that you know that could help them even greater.
yeah. Oh man, yeah, those are great tips. Paper money's losing power, but real money, it's been trusted for 5,000 years. When banks print, inflation steals, and markets shake, gold and silver stay solid. Don't wait for headlines, own what's real. Visit learnwealthcycles.com and start building freedom with physical silver and gold today. Um, and so Jay, when somebody wants to work with you, like because now you're sales training, right? Like you're helping people get better at sales. That's what you do. So walk me through that. I'm like a new sales guy. I'm doing okay. Why would I like I mean, I know why I would want to work with you, but like if I don't know, right, what sets you apart, from a sales training perspective than like some of these bigger bigger following type people that are preaching about sales right now, where some of them I just think they're so cringy myself because I've been in the game forever. It's just like flashy hashtags and things like that versus, the nuts and bolts of what you do. Why would somebody want to come work with you?
Yeah, I think like you and I are, coming from a different approach. I think the biggest X factor for me, and that's the Christ factor, is faith-based selling. So selling is not a dirty word. It's not a means to an end. It is a vehicle that is, serving. Selling is serving,
Yes.
and selling is leadership. So I'm not trying to manipulate people. I'm not trying to, like you're not trying to force people if they're not ready. So I'd be like, hey, so let me know when you're ready, or when do you think you'd be ready, right? Or when would be like, what's the cost of not like, and this is where you can apply the leadership. People call this pressure or manipulation, but if you think about you're in a sales call and the person that you're on a call with, let's say it's a girl, a lady, and she's in an abusive relationship with a partner, a male partner that's physically harming her, and and this is maybe your friend now. Well, let's call it your friend. The girl is the lady is your friend, and you like and love her enough that you want her to be in a healthier space. So I try to put myself in the scenario where I know that if they don't get the help, things are going to get much, much worse. So I put myself in that character or persona, like, because as a Christian, I think of what is life without Christ? It's eternity in suffering, right? And so it's my first and only chance that I'll ever have with them. So the only lead, like what we call pressure that I would add is, hey Luke, so what's the cost of not taking action? And you
Right.
mentioned that you've been struggling with this situation for the last 16 years, and you've tried, therapists, you've tried counselors, you've tried coaches, and they all haven't worked for you. How much is this costing you in time, stress, anxiety, and even money? Because if I can just take now, and whether you join or not doesn't really matter. But what really matters is the decision that you make to help you transform your life. And that's what I want for you. Whether you join, you know, a competitor of mine, or whether you join my program, that doesn't matter. I just want you to get help. So
Right.
what will it take you to get the help that you need?
Yeah. That's good. But it is. It's. I mean, and everybody talks about that and future pacing and looking out and like the cost of your decisions.
Yeah.
Um, and then painting that picture for them. You can see when somebody does a really good job with that, like how well how it kind of works. Um, in mine, and we kind of do like a reverse thing sometimes because people go, wow, I don't really know, like they'll look at their, RSP account. They're like, well, I just met with my guy and he said we're doing really good. And I'm like, okay, but so what's your idea of really good? He's like, well, he said we're doing really good. I'm like, well, how much is that? And then we'll look at their statement or something, and I'll go, well, just for, simplicity's sake, because things change over time, sure, silver's up 70% this year, so like I can make up the stuff. But I said, you've been with this guy for X amount of time. I'm like, let's just pick the date that you started with him. And sometimes the statements will show like initial like how much was there. I did this the other day and I showed a client they had 500 grand and in their account, and now today they got 400 grand, so they've
Oh my
gone
gosh.
down. They've pulled some money out, but still nothing like it should still be more over 10 years, right? it,
Yeah.
it had gone, and I put it in. um, I just picked that date. I picked the absolute highest price of silver on that date based off of the high point on the chart. Added $8 for just silver, which is the absolute highest premium possible.
So kind of worst case
Divided it.
scenario,
Yeah, the
conservative.
absolutely worst case scenario, this would be the worst time to buy, all that kind of stuff, the highest price point. So they'd get the least amount of metal. And I times it by the price that day that we were like looking at the statement. And instead of 400,000, they'd have 1.2 million, right? And I
What?
showed them. Yeah, and I was like, this is what it would be today. And they're like, oh my God. And so they like, instantly they're like, oh, we need to make this change. And then they start talking to people, and their advisor convinced them still not to move at all. And I was like, how can you look at that person and trust them when like they're getting like 2% annually? The total growth in 10 years was like 2%. And when I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, it shouldn't even say 2% because you're actually $100,000 less than when you
You're
started. So I don't
negative.
know
Yeah.
how, whether you've taken the money out or not, but they're like, well, no, we've still grown it, but those are the reductions. I'm like, it's terrible how they can manipulate the numbers to
How
still,
much growth could they have made if they had invested in silver in 10 years?
yeah, it would have been, they would have made 300%
So
is what
that's the
it,
thing. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like the idea that they're in this abusive relationship that,
yeah.
someone's making money off your commissions. And I think there was a stat, and I'm sure you know this, or you can find it, where even with your financial advisor, and we've been, doing this for decades, all of us in Canada and probably in the world, where they have so many different clients and portfolios. Are they really managing your money? There's no way.
No,
And
no.
even if they said, if you even did a half job of just kind of monitoring your stuff, you statistically perform better than the financial advisor,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
having that side by side and then saying what's possible is, would you want to make 2% or 300% in 10
Yeah.
years?
I know. And it's wild to me how, like, you're right, that abusive relationship is a real thing, right? And like people just don't even realize it's like, wow, I don't want her to lose out on, the commissions. And I kind of joked, I was like, you could have paid her um double her commissions with moving the asset, and you would have still been further ahead. You could have
So
just given
here's,
her money. If you worry so much about her, why don't you put it in a better asset
yeah,
and
yeah,
pay her every year what she's taking? Because I'm not taking anything year after year, right? I'm just
yeah.
helping you because I get paid the one time and that's it, and you keep all the returns. Uh, but yeah, it was
So
kind of funny.
here's advanced 2.0 objection handling for you in your script. So, it's the future selling, right? Selling the future is, so let's say Mr. Smith, you have $500,000 in RSPs. And what's the dream? What's the dream? Oh, the dream is after I retire at, 65, I want to travel with my wife. I want to provide for my children and grandchildren. I want to buy a cottage and a boat. I want to be able to have a private golf membership, blah, 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 all these different things. And you say, well, interestingly enough, we had someone that actually had almost the exact same amount, and they lost $100,000. And
Yeah.
how would that help you achieve that dream of, I mean, there's no way that you could afford all the things that you mentioned, let alone do you even have money to retire or survive or sustain?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that okay? And they're
No.
like, no, that's not okay.
No.
So that's why we need to break that mindset and even relationship of understanding how we can help you. You know, you could have been at 1.2 million in 10 years. So what would 1.2 million do for you? Oh my gosh, I'd be able to do everything and more and give.
Yeah. Yeah, and give. Yeah, it's true. And like and tying in and tapping in. I find myself, especially doing so much additional sales training this last year.
Yeah.
And just being around some of these like high ticket guys and the skill set that they use to influence the purchase. I found myself a few times doing something, I mean, like, what is it? A person needs to, often on a sale, right? They need to be asked like 7 to 10 times, like for the sale before they'll buy. Like, you don't just go, "Hey, Jay, have you heard enough to make a decision?" Like it's like you got to ask and reframe and go over it. And I've never really done that when it comes to like sitting across the desk or whatever with somebody. But I did it the other day, like this was a while ago, a month or two ago, and I just
How'd
said,
that
"So,
work?
like, how much do you want to buy today?" And they were like, as I said it, I was like, "I can't believe I just said that," because it's so against what I want, what I normally do. And they're like, "Yeah, 20, like probably 20 grand." And I was like, "Okay." And we just typed it up and got it done. And they literally did the e-transfer while they were at the office, just set it up as a bill pay, did it, boom, gone. And I was like, that was the easiest, quickest sale ever. And they wanted it, there was no manipulation, but it was just these little tweaks. And so I'm trying to get my son, he's 17. Um, he was doing some sales for a bit last year, for a meat company, right? Selling beef, calling people through the CRM. And he's back in construction, and his old trainer, he does like basketball trainer. There's a bunch of these guys that all played college ball together. They're in Texas right now selling solar. And they're like, "You think Ben would come down and work with us?" Because they know like a sports kid and works hard. And I'm like, "I don't know, man. I mean, talk to him." And my son's like, "Well, I don't know, Dad." And I'm like, "You should go. Like one summer, dude, you're working construction right now. Like you go work one summer, even if you could make uh, at bare minimum, you'd make what you made in the summertime doing sales. Like the first month or two might be a little slow, but I was like, if you know you want to go do it, I said you can work all winter, but start doing some sales training, start taking some courses and doing some different things over the winter here, so you can just like get these ideas and these like this data into your brain so that it becomes kind of second nature. So many people that when you think about selling and they're like, "Oh, I could never do sales." And I always laugh. I go, "Oh, here comes the 20-minute pitch on you selling me how you're not good at sales. Let's hear it. Let's hear it now." It's like you have to convince me that you're not good at it now, so you have to win the sale. And they're like, "Oh, I hated that you say that." I'm like, "But it's the truth." I wish more people would understand that because you're selling everything in your life. You got to sell your kids at doing what you need. You got to sell your wife. You got to sell your friends. So just like it's a skill set and it doesn't have to be scummy, right? It's just listen to what those people want, help them find the solutions and move ahead. Um, so what kind of stuff do you do for your not what kind of stuff, but like are you Jay teaching courses? Is it one-on-one? Like what does your program look like? Because I actually
Yeah,
don't
so
know that.
yeah, I have three different kind of programs. One's a school community where I teach how to
Okay,
generate leads and close sales. So it was kind of started off as a sales ninja dual closer apprenticeship. Dual closer meaning it's like a double-edged sword. I think sales is one of the top number one skills you can learn in the world.
for
That
sure it is.
you can make uncapped commissions, which means like salespeople make the most money anywhere. And then how to generate those leads, like appointment setters. You got to know how to generate those leads to be able to close those sales. So I was teaching kind of both in that school community. So that meets once every week, Tuesdays at 10 a.m. EST. And then I have a Sales Ninja Pro Accelerator group coaching for closers, high ticket coaches who want to grow their business. And that's a group coaching as well for Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's twice a week where they learn everything from lead generation to closing sales and then sales psychology. If you think about it, it's the psychology or the mind that tells the heart and the body what to do. And most people do not take massive imperfect action. Most people have a hard time implementing because of ADHD or lack of focus. So I teach them, biohacking. I teach them mindset. I teach them sales psychology, buyer intent, buyer signals. I teach them the mind of a winning athlete, elite athlete, and how do you prepare? Like, how do you prepare for the meeting? How do you
Ah,
research the prospect so that you know who they are before they jump on the call? Like these are advanced techniques and tactics that can help you win the sale before you even get in the call. And then handling objections and building
oh,
rapport and things like tonality and mirroring and just all these advanced NLP. How do you get micro yeses? How do you frame the call? How do you stay within the frame? How do you loop? Meaning loop is like they go on this rabbit trail. Okay, so before we get into this 45-minute call, Luke, I just want to make sure that if we get off topic or we get to a rabbit hole, I'm just going to gently nudge you just to kind of bring us back on the track because that's why we're on the call, right? And so they're like, yeah, yeah, thank you so much. I need that, right? So I'm always framing and I'm always leading the call, and and selling really is helping them make the best decision that will change their life. So I look at
yes.
it as this is an amazing privilege I have with this person that I'm going to be on the call for like an hour to literally have the possibility and potential of changing their lives. So I get excited.
Oh man, I love that. That's cool. And so you have two different communities on school?
Yeah, so sorry. School is a one community for the setting and closing, and then I have a group coaching where I do that twice a week, and that's through Zoom. And then my one-on-one, which is my VIPs, are usually people stuck at 50 to $300,000 a month. Usually digital marketing agencies, companies or businesses that are doing a lot better and have more employees, like 5 to 10 plus employees, where I'm training their entire sales team and then
Right.
helping them with setting, closing, doing sales call audits, doing role playing, etc. So I meet with them one on one, and that's a higher retainer. And I even do rev share with them because as they scale, then I become like a fractional CRO, chief revenue
Yeah.
officer, because if they can grow and scale, they know I'm not just here to take their money, but I'm here to help them grow their business, kind of like a silent partner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and those are the best. I mean, even from a marketing perspective, the companies that do that where they take a rev share, like you just know that they're a better company. They're more invested in you. It's funny because I've talked to different people over the years, and when you bring up something like that, they don't want to do it, and it's like, well, but wait a minute, like, what do you mean you don't want to do it? Like, do you not trust your ability to generate what you just said you could do for me? You approached me to sell, like what do you mean? And um yeah, so
The smarter people that I work with, they are excited about that. They're the ones who want that because they don't want someone just going to kind of wham bam thank you ma'am and it doesn't work because they've had that happen so many times. They
yeah,
want someone that's going to stay in their business because they don't have a chief revenue officer, they don't have an evangelist, they don't have a sales director or someone that's really good at it that can come in. So for me, I'd rather work with less clients and help them scale and get a share of that wealth and
yeah.
and help them scale to the moon.
Of your, not to like name clients or anything like that, but what markets or niches do you like to work with the most, like for business? Like,
Yeah, so digital marketing agencies and high ticket coaching. So this company, I helped go from 0 to 3 million in 24 months. So more than the niche in the industry, it's the people. It's like I like working with people that are coachable, that implement.
yeah,
The people that are most difficult are the people who don't take my advice and don't implement. They're the worst clients. They're nightmare clients, and then they ask for the shirt off your back because they're
yeah.
like, "Hey, I've just invested my life savings, and it's your fault that my business is not growing." I'm like, "You haven't listened to anything that I've asked you to do."
Yeah. I actually think back to the construction days, and like when like selling is one thing, but then you got like the safety program and all these people that would, like, businesses that would implement a safety program, but they didn't believe in safety programs. So then it's like, but they only did it because they would get a deduction in like the WCB
Oh yeah,
costs,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
they would implement these things, but it would be like, And it was always the big builders, and it was like, but you got guys walking around in flip-flops, like you don't care, and so you're telling us we have to do these things, but then you don't believe in them. And that used to bother me. So the same thing with selling. It's like people, they often come at it when they're struggling, right? Or they're not doing well. They're like, oh, well, geez, like our sales are down. Maybe we should look at marketing, or maybe we should look at this. And it's just like, well, okay, but then you come in and you do it, and then it ramps up, and then what's the first thing you shut off? Your funnel. And you're like, well, we're getting too many leads. Well, then that's a different problem to solve. But like that's a good problem to solve. So don't shut the funnel off. Hire more people, and
Right.
um I think that all the time because we've been, we're talking now about like helping out some other businesses with selling and, sales and funnels and stuff. And again, I just have fun with it because it's like I can get in there and help. And I'm really looking at the construction industry because I just think some of those guys are so bad, right? Their work sells itself, but like they suck at selling it, right? So it's like they're like so difficult to work with. And it's like,
Are you looking at branching off to do that?
oh yeah, no, we are. Yeah, I've already launched something with some
Yeah.
guys. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's yeah, I like it because from a construction standpoint and knowing, but it's
Yeah.
like but then you start to talk about them. I go, who would make the ideal client? And it's like, well, it's these guys that are already better. Like those are the ones that, and they have a ton of leads, they have a good reputation, and it's like we could just make you better. I had made this post a while back in this concrete group about like, hey, is anybody leveraging AI, within their business? There's hundreds of comments. You stupid idiot. AI is not going to screed my driveway. I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. And and I was like, whatever, posting, replying to a few, and then all the best guys, they're DMing me, right? They're like, bro, like you're getting eaten alive on that AI post. They go, we wanted to comment because like we use it, but I didn't want my competition to know that we use it. And I was like, yeah, don't say nothing, man. I'll take the heat. But those are the guys that now I want to work with because I'm like, they understand, like, hey, I see what you're doing. But did you know if you do this and this and this, we can make this even better for you? And they're like, huh, right? And so now we're going to start, helping some of these guys with I'm trying to build out this AI receptionist for construction, right? Because like, most guys are, tied to their phone, then now they're not able to work, but they don't want to hire somebody to work in the office. And, it's this constant struggle. And I'm like, listen, like this thing will work it. But I'm making it and training it to be like me,
Yeah.
right? Because I'll ask different questions from a client and then I can close the client on the phone for a concrete job. And what I'd love to do is like, free 2 week trial and then have it like close a deal in that trial. Like that would be a dream, right? You implement this in your business and then they're calling you like, bro, your agent got me a sale. So you're gonna put your credit card in and sign up for a year now, like right? Because it's already making it worth. Because again, that's the part of like, just like making sure it's right for them. Is it gonna be a good fit? Like I want to see it successful. The last thing I want to do is have somebody implement something. You're probably like that too, right? You sell somebody on your training program or whatever, and they come in and then they don't attend the calls. Their team's not doing what they're supposed to do. And then 2 months later, they're like, Jay, this system doesn't work. It's like, no, you didn't work. You didn't do
Yeah.
anything, right? So how can people find you, Jay?
They can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I can send you all the socials,
Yes,
and
of
they can
course.
join my free Facebook group. So I'll send you some information here, um, and they can find my YouTube channel. I'm kind of everywhere, so I want to make sure I'm omnipresent.
Nice.
Um, LinkedIn, and also you can find me at www.gosalesninja.com, which is my landing page, my VSL funnel. And yeah, so I'm kind of at all those places.
Love it. Yeah, we'll definitely add those to the show notes and things like that.
Oh,
So
I had some thoughts for you as you were talking. So two things is number one, it'd be kind of cool to have for you to have like a construction podcast, right? Where you interview like all those hundreds of comments, you could interview every person, whether they said you're an idiot or the people that DM'd you saying I'm using AI, right? And they can all become clients. So that's where you
yeah,
can really get a boom. And the second thing is, we already have an AI receptionist that we're helping companies who are stuck at 200, $300,000 a month. Um, so unless you want to kind of figure that out yourself, I have a tech Jedi. You've already met him, so it's actually booking calls, and it can do
Yeah,
outbound and inbound. And we're going to program it to do sales with my kind of IP, Sales
which is
Ninja
amazing.
IP.
Yeah.
But I've tried to break it, and I took me 14 minutes, and I still couldn't break it,
Yeah, that's
which is
pretty
kind of
sick.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I remember you saying that actually, and talking about that before. Yeah, it's so fun what's available out there because obviously if if you're on the call all day long with people, that's great. But like eventually, you can still only as a really good salesperson, you can still only handle so many calls a day. And that's the
Yeah.
one thing that I've noticed with some of the high ticket people. It's like they're all about the volume. And so it's like 6 to 10 minutes they're trying to get on and off calls. And I'm like, how do you build rapport or relationship with people? I'm like, you're prejudging them that they're like on or off or they're not going to buy. And I'm just like, you're missing out on some like amazing opportunities, And so, I mean, that's a different strategy for a different game, right? So, I want to build with people. I
100%.
think the coolest thing for me is that some of my first clients that came on board with the investing company were concrete clients of mine because they just
Really?
trusted. Yeah, I just phoned them. I was like, "Hey, look, this is what I'm doing. I want to just run you by." I said, I'm basically going to be shutting down the construction company. This is what I'm doing. I see a huge value in this. I just want to tell you about it. You got some time, and we would have a talk, and they're like, yeah, let's do some business together because they trusted me. They're like, hey man, you've had this construction company for 20 years and you're gonna shut it down. Like you're one of the biggest companies in the city and you're just gonna shut it down because of what you see. I'm like, I want to help people. That's all I've ever wanted
Mm,
to do, right? And so in the beginning it was hard because like we talked about that at the very beginning of the conversation today, right? About like crabs in the bucket and pulling you down. And I go out and everybody's like, oh, then the people in the financial industry, they're like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'm like, are you sure about that? And now I've called them out again. I'm like, hey, everything I said came true. I'm 100% accurate, and what I said is going to unfold. And you basically said I was not, you know, accurate. And so, what'd you do for your clients the last 3 years? And so it's like, some of them, right, you can't do that. I'm like, I can do whatever I want, you
yeah.
know, I'm bigger than you. No, just joking, but it's like, so yeah, man, I'm glad you could come on today. I hope people have found some understanding from a sales guy that has I really feel like a different approach to selling, somewhat similar to mine, can be ethical in selling and be led to make sure that they're doing the right thing for their businesses and their life. And yeah, you're a good wholesome dude, Jay. I'm glad we're friends.
Likewise. And I just want to kind of end with a book note of like, you talked about, not selling the way that maybe other people were telling you or training you to. But I mean, for the rest of the people who are listening to the podcast and the replay, how much gold, silver have you sold year to date, approximately?
Oh, this year,
Yeah.
over 15 million.
Okay, so listen to this, guys, right? The guy who is not following the protocol of that pushy and what some would call manipulative sales and forcing the card out of people's wallets or the RSPs out of their accounts is, Luke has sold $15 million without by building relationships and
Yeah.
being authentic and serving. So I think this is the way forward. Hashtag this is the way.
Hashtag this is the way. I have to use that one. Hashtag this is the way. Yeah. Jay, thanks so much for coming on, bro. I really appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing what's next from you.
Likewise, thanks for having me.
Of course. When a system shakes, paper wealth disappears overnight. But real wealth, it doesn't flinch. Gold and silver have outlasted every currency ever printed. The question isn't if this next storm comes, it's what will you do when it does. Visit learnwealthcycles.com. You too can own what's real.